It's Shakedown and we're back from Sebring. But on this show, not really. We're going back to the Sebring track for what I'm calling the 24 hours of Audi. Let me explain. You saw the 12-hour endurance race where Audi won. Audi, the race team, stayed an extra day or two to complete a 12-hour endurance test to shake down and develop the 2012 e-tron Quattro and the R18 Ultra, the diesel turbo version, to get ready for the WEC and their attack at Le Mans. And Audi invited us to stick around and stay and watch the action. We weren't allowed to get into pit lane, but we were photographing the car, talking to a lot of the people that are part of the Audi team. This is Shakedown. We're going to take you on a visit to their test day. There really is nothing like a racetrack the day after a big race. Yes, it's a little desolate, but the track may be faster because all the rubber's been laid down. And there's a different attitude and vibe. It's a little bit down to business because that's what testing is all about. And the day after a race, Audi has been using it as an opportunity to develop that 24-hour mindset. They've been doing this at Sebring for a couple of years now. In its simplest form, what Audi came to accomplish here is to test their car, develop it, make sure it has the speed and endurance necessary. But enough talk. Let's take a look at the R18 e-tron Quattro, car number 2 as it ran around the track. You heard the car, you see the car, but let's put what you're watching into context. Let's hear from Allan McNish about driving the e-tron Quattro and how it changes that whole dynamic of getting this car hustled around Sebring.
Driving the e-tron Quattro, there's a regulation that you're not allowed to discharge energy below 120 kilometers per hour. And at the moment, he said, talking about turn 13 here in Sebring, it's a very difficult corner because you brake in a little bit of an angle, so the rear of the car is slightly unloaded. You then go from tarmac to concrete section and back to tarmac, and so you basically turn into the corner with grip. Suddenly the front of the car always washes out, then the rear slips because it's all on the tarmac. You've got a bit of camber in there and a curb that's quite vicious, so you've got to get to the curb to get the grip of the car. But if you hit the curb, then you bounce, and then suddenly you get back onto the tarmac, which has got more grip again. So, you know, there's a lot happening there. And what I found in that particular corner, I could, for example, brake straighter for longer, turn it sharper, and get on the gas coming out, and then use the acceleration coming out to get the lap time, as opposed to using the speed into the apex to get the lap time. And these things are, I would say, it's not a definitive, that's what it'll be like every corner, every circuit. It's just me learning and understanding how the car is today. But the car we have today and the conditions we have today and the conditions we'll have in Spa at the first race of the e-tron Quattro and the Ultra and what we'll have at Le Mans are probably quite different. But it's all going up into the sort of storage bank upstairs and be pulled out at the appropriate time.
Dare I translate what Allan McNish was saying, but let me put it in context, because before the cars hit the track, Audi, Dr. Ullrich in particular, gave us a little bit of perspective of what they can and cannot share with us. So we're doing a little bit of educated guesses. Of course, as a race team, they're going to keep things close to the vest. But it sounded like what Allan was saying was that e-tron, the Flywheel technology, is working like a little bit of an engine brake and helping them to take the braking deeper, maybe tighter, more forceful. Because of the front drive aspect of e-tron, it sounds like he's squaring off the corner. and getting that straight shot out, and the front drive aspect of e-tron is allowing him to do that. But you know what? JF also had some words with Tom Christensen, as did I, and let's take a look at this little clip because it talks to that about the braking and the flywheel, and we get a little glimpse at the speed this thing may be carrying.
Okay, so there you go.
Okay, that's the e-tron Ultra. See the rear wing end plate? See how they did that jet tail fin like scallop cutting back?
Yep.
Where the Ultras, the diesel is all boxed over, so they're definitely hyper aero here. The wing is a lot lower on all these 2012s.
It's almost like it's 6 inches lower.
At least. And by the way, do you want to know? And so you talked to Tom Christensen.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how they're using the flywheel KERS to use it as a braking.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's got more horsepower with the electric.
Yeah. Lap time?
Yesterday the 11 R18 was doing 147s.
Yeah.
What do you think they just did in the e-tron Ultra?
Tell me. I'm sure it's faster.
1448. 1448. Holy shit. In the middle of this test, Audi frankly was very transparent and letting us have some quality time with all the key players. Dr. Wolfgang Ullrich was next, and he shared with us his perspective of what's really going on with Audi Sport and a test like this. And it's deeper than just getting the cars and drivers up to speed. He spoke about team, he spoke about developing the technology, and he spoke about the process that makes the testing and the success of Audi Sport work.
Yeah, we're going to test to the end of the week here in Sebring, and then we have scheduled one more test in Europe before we go to Spa. Basically, the car definition that we run here should be the one that races in Spa. If we should see that we are in problem with some of the development parts here, it depends on which parts it is. Normally we should be able to react, and this is as well the aim of this endurance test. You need to make sure that you have a team that is motivated to make a great car with good ideas and with the personal input of everybody. That means it must be sure to any mechanics, to any engineer, that he has given his personal input into that car. And if this would not be in the car, it would not be complete and it could not be competitive. So each one gets his own part of the success, which is a big motivator, because all these people that work in Audi Sport and in our team, they have a mindset that they want to go racing, they are racers, and they want to be successful and competitive.
Let me assume by now you all know what the e-tron system is, but simply stated, it's the Flywheel KERS energy recapture system that Porsche has been developing with Williams F1 and running in the GT3 911 hybrid. Now put into the sister brand R18 Audi, it is an example of how this technology is developing. About 103 pounds of weight when it first got into the Porsche. Porsche got it down to about 70 pounds. Rumor is Audi's taken another 20 pounds of weight out of it to make it even more effective in race car mode here. But as important as e-tron is and the Quattro part of it, the lifeblood of any car, any race car, is the engine. And in this case, it's the diesel V6 variable vane turbo, which came from the labs of Mr. Ulrich Baretsky, head of engine development for Audi. He had a few choice things to say and talks about how that engine works in the Ultra and the e-tron Quattro.
For the engine, basically, as a mechanical part of the car, it doesn't matter whether it's an e-tron or Ultra. They are running the same engines in both cars. We are also running the same mapping in both cars. The difference is made by the strategy how the car is driven. When you have an e-tron, and then you have the choice whether you do an economic run and you are running on a fuel-safe mode. This influences a certain way the engine, or you are running on a qualifying mode. This does not influence the engine because he is normally used to run on qualifying, except you really want to save fuel, or you have to save fuel, as we had to save last year in the very last stint in Le Mans with our 3 Peugeot friends in our neck and fuel running out, and then we have really to play everything in the engine that you keep the consumption as low as you wouldn't believe it to arrive at the end. And this will be supported in the future by the hybrid, by the e-tron.
So obviously, testing is all about getting the team, the whole process, and the cars and drivers ready to win. And while that's what it's all about, There's no better way to put that in context, to go where, frankly, I had to go talking to Allan McNish and listen to him share with us that whole experience of winning the Sebring race. It was a lot more than just capturing the victory of one race. Again, Allan McNish.
When I came round the last corner and saw the checkered flag and knew we had finally won the Sebring 12 hours, it was just elation. And it wasn't elation because of just that victory, to be honest with you. It was because it kind of put to bed 2011 and all of the problems that we had had. And every time, not just thinking about Le Mans, for example, but the races where we had been right in the mix, right up at the front, leading in the last race in China, and then having a problem with the batteries, and it just didn't run for us. And we had worked really hard. All the guys had worked hard, and they had worked hell of a hard this week to make sure that we had the right car for the race. And it worked. It was good in lap 1, it was good in lap 320, whenever the last lap was. And we were the fastest and most consistent car out there. And we'd finally put it all together and we'd done it. And that was where the elation came from, not just necessarily from the Sebring 12, it was the fact of the way we had won it.
Well, without sounding like an infomercial, let me thank Audi for letting us into their test day. That really was a unique experience. And in addition to what we showed you here, there are a couple little sound bites. We're going to be very respectful of the technology we saw, because I did get a chance to walk in pit lane and look at the car up close. As that car gets shown more and more, and you can stop the video, there are a ton of little details in this car. They really have worked over everything. It may look like just an evolution of the R18, but everything aerodynamically, suspension design, a lot of things are very, very different, and this car is a leap forward of where they were before. Matter of fact, someone shared that in low drag configuration, which is what they were testing, they're making as much downforce as the 2011 high downforce version that raced and won at Sebring. So they've got the downforce in the low drag car, they've got the Le Mans low drag. You know, that's pretty interesting, because if you think about it and look at the numbers, when they started this whole Le Mans racing thing, they were running a V12 and doing trap speeds and lap times. They were pretty prodigious. They're now running a V6. It's been restricted down with the rules, but they're running faster top speeds and equivalent lap times. So that whole ultra efficiency thing is definitely kicking in. We spoke with some of the other drivers. We had some words with Tom Christensen. It was really interesting how they started to share how with the lower horsepower, even with e-tron Quattro, they're running this thing like a momentum car. And some of them reflected all the way back to their F3 days about carrying speed through corners. Now, Allan talked about how carrying speed is a little different because you've got that e-tron technology to help. But Christensen was talking about when he's on a free lap, trying to carry fifth gear in some of the fast corners to keep that momentum going, and going down a fourth when he needed the grunt to either make a pass or stabilize the car. And then we spoke with the Italian in the team, Dindo Capelli. The question to him was pretty simple. I said, as an Italian on this all-German buttoned-up team, what's it like with your passion and personality? How does that make you act? He thought a minute and he said, before I speak, I think a minute, then I share. Managing the emotions, I guess, is the Italian message there. Listen, it was all good. We're looking forward to seeing these cars race. Le Mans is going to be mega. Oh, and one more thing. I have to mention it. We all know what happened. It's the Timo Bernhardt crash. We were leaving the track as we heard the car hit the tire wall and saw the tires fly. It was a prodigious hit, but the R18 protected Timo, and that was great. The team rallied around him. They checked out the car and the technology to find out what happened and continued with the test. We wish Timo and the team well. It's another part of testing, and the team does their job and went on, as did Timo.
Whether it's a gasoline, direct injection, or a diesel engine, doesn't matter. You have a limited time to mix up oxygen and fuel, and the more you atomize the spray, the bigger is the chance that the molecules find each other. And the more they find each other in this time, the cleaner is the combustion, the more efficient is the combustion, the more power you get out, or the more efficiency. And unfortunately, I have to say, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, we have gone into the diesel area. And I would rather like, before I retire, to go back once to a gasoline engine, direct injection, to use all this experience we have made with diesel. I think we could make a huge step with a direct injected gasoline engine with all the knowledge we have now from diesel engines.